Hello, dear viewer. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I'd like to read a little bit on just what's going on in general. Sometimes I wonder what questions to ask Spirit, especially, about these impeachment hearings and all of this stuff, this farcical nonsense that happens. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say. So I'm having one of those kinds of moments. So Spirit, would you please just let us know what you'd like us to know about this whole situation. Right now, just to give you a little perspective, it is Sunday morning, and the Republicans have made their opening arguments, I believe, yesterday, and then they'll pick it up again, I believe, tomorrow. And so the Democrats have presented their cases. No witnesses have been called. No documents have been received that are new for this, so the Democrats simply replayed some testimony from the inquiry and made their arguments and presented all of the treasure trove of evidence that's already there, as if that might sway the Republicans, which it doesn't seem to be doing. Okay. So that's where we are right now, because, the Republicans are, they've made a decision. And so many of them already said that they'd made the decision before the whole procedure ever began. And they're simply not going to acquit. Not going to remove. They're going to acquit. So, Spirit, what should we know about this? Please give us some information. Okay, why do I want to do this spread? I want to do this spread, so I'm doing this spread. Okay, so present situation. And maybe because it is about Trump, maybe this is Trump's spread. We have the Page of Wands in the current situation. He's got a new goal. Okay. We've got the 8 of Coins in the outward, right? The outward position, which is not good for a president to have the 8 of Coins in the outward position, because that's really the apprentice. That's really learning something new. That's really, there's nothing wrong with the card per se. Sometimes it's really terrific, but do we want our president, in the position of apprentice right now, he's, in other words, grasping at straws. He's, in other words, just learning as he's going. He is flying by the seat of his pants. He is not having a long-range plan. He is just trying to increase his security. He is scrambling today. He is focused. He is doing whatever he can to increase his security today. All right. Inward characteristic is 3 of Swords. Well, okay, so that means he is having more trouble than I would have thought. Okay, so he's having more trouble. He can act like everything is just fine, but this has become a repeated source of heartache for him. He is having a lot of heartache about this situation, that he is impeached, that he is failing, that this does bother him. When people say, well, you can never be unimpeached, it does bother him. That bothers him a lot. Okay. His goal, however, yes, and we've seen this, especially with certain desires to win in that party. The Knight of Swords. We're going to charge forward. It's not necessarily a mature plan. It's not necessarily a super well thought out plan. In fact, we may be taking orders from someone else, and we are charging forward. It's that Knight of Swords, verbal aggression. So he's just going to sort of muscle and push and fight his way through. And he's determined to win. The Knight of Swords is determined to win. So that's his goal, which I'm not surprised by. His motivation. Yes. Okay, so he's afraid. He's afraid. The King of Wands. The King of Wands, he is afraid then about that Democratic leadership that rises up. When he hears Adam Schiff talk, he is afraid. He knows that if they get in power, he's out of there. He knows darn well. In fact, even if he were to get reelected somehow, even if he were to Well, and we know he's already cheating. He cheated before, he's cheating again. We know if he gets reelected, if he doesn't have support in the Senate, he's out of there. So this is what he's concerned about. So the more this stuff goes on, the more nervous he gets and the more he focuses on getting reelected. So his efforts to cheat, like telling the Ukrainian leader he needed to publish a fake investigation on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden to help Trump in Trump's reelection, that's only one of the things, you guys. This is a multifaceted effort for him to cheat for the election. And he is constantly, 8 of coins, he's constantly trying to figure out, and he's learning, how do I do this? What can I do? What can I do? Which envelopes can I push? What can I get people to do? What corrupt and underhanded thing can I accomplish? Can I get away with? Can I get people to do? That's where he's at right now. But I have to say, he's thinking about, he's only learning. He doesn't have a well thought out plan here. And he is not thinking enough about, he wants to get reelected. He's not thinking enough about what will get the Republicans reelected, though. I have to tell you, my intuition has been telling me this. Like, he is not thinking enough about the next tier of protection for him. He's not. So he cannot protect himself forever. And we have the 8 of Cups is what's at stake, him leaving. Sure enough, whoops, sorry. The 8 of Cups, he's going to be going. That's what's at stake. The only question is when, but he knows that's what's at stake. And if he has to resign, then he knows that there are criminal proceedings that could advance against him, that he's immune to right now because he's the president and because someone has decided that a memo written by someone in the DOJ years ago about not indicting a sitting president is somehow rule of law, and it's not, but someone's decided that's a precedent that has to be honored, and so he's only immune from a lot of that because he is president right now. So he is scrambling. These are not the cards of a secure person. These are the cards of a sort of learning as he goes, flying by the seat of his pants, aggressive and determined to win, heartbroken, fearful kind of person. These are what these cards are. All right, so his need or flaw, his own card comes up. Trump's card in my readings, the 9 of Cups, the wealthy merchant, the smug merchant. That's his need and his flaw. His need is to be Trump. He has this huge ego that is called Donald Trump, that he's constructed since small on, I think age 2 on. So it's both his need and his flaw. He doesn't know who he would be without that. He doesn't know who he would be. But this isn't the real him. This is a human constructed kind of ego that's been built up and built up and built up. Yes, over his core. So this is the problem. This is the whole problem. You know, people will do crazy things to defend and protect that false self because what's underneath it, a vulnerable 2-year-old, you know? So we have the Judgment card, which is the source of that need or flaw. Judgment falling on him. He only exists in the minds of the other people. There's a problem. There's a problem with this way of being, is that what others think about you, or the image, the the persona, the public persona is the real person, you know? There's not that, you know how most people have the ability to, as much as we all do care about how we're thought about there, and that's very true, most of us, if somehow we lost our reputation, or there were some real bad dings to our reputation or our public image, or people were misunderstanding us, we could still somehow retreat to really get in touch with who we are and find that base inside of us. Trump really can't. He really can't. So for him, the public persona is all of him. So that's the issue. And he worries so much then about his public persona. And he needs a lot of attention. He doesn't even care particularly that people hate him sometimes. That's powerful still. He wants to be, he needs that attention to feel like a real person. That's really, because there's nothing, underneath it is so vulnerable and underdeveloped that he doesn't know what to do if he has to be with his real self all by himself. So this turns out to be a very in-depth kind of reading. Interesting. Huh. And he does need a lot of attention. We've seen that. You know, we've seen that with his tweets trying to sort of even manipulate public opinion to be so focused on him and what's he going to do next. And yeah, it's like if he didn't have that judgment falling on him, that view on him, he would feel less than real. And apparently it's a bottomless pit of need there. Because, you know, he wants the whole world to be focused on him. So anyway, we have the Empress here. The effect that this has upon his desire to win at any cost and just charge forward is a new beginning. He's always looking for the next new thing. It keeps rebirthing in him, this desire to win. No matter what, it just keeps, he's caught in the cycle. It's a repetition. There's nothing new here. This is what he will do. He is caught in it. He doesn't know any way out of it. Well, that's interesting. Spirit shows us this today. So I just feel like the messages, you know, don't expect him to be able to change it. We know that already, but he is caught in this cycle. This is what he will do. It really is kind of pitiful. It really isn't very, it's not a position of strength as much as he wants to be seen as strong. It's not a position of wisdom. It's not a position of peace. It's not a position of expansion. Yeah. So any new plan he has today, any new little goal he has today with the Page of Wands there is more of the same. The Knight of Swords, winning, just win, win, win. And again, at the bottom of this deck is the King of Wands. He is also, okay, so he's very focused on Adam's shift. He's very focused today on discrediting democratic leadership that's standing up to him. He's very focused on that today. He's wanting to ruin all their reputations. He's wanting to go after them. Just like he would enlist the help of a foreign government to go after Joe Biden, he's going to go after them too. Okay. Especially the males with this King of Wands. So I guess Spirit is showing us that we can expect that to come out. But, you know, he's behaving in a pretty desperate way. He's not thinking things out well. He's sort of casting about. He's more likely to get himself in trouble trying this than anybody else. He's more likely to create troubles for himself. I do not feel in my intuition like folks like Adam Schiff, Jerry Nadler are at any kind of real risk for having their reputations ruined. I don't feel it, you guys. But I feel like that's what he's thinking of. That's what he's intending right now. In the past, we have the Tower for his past position. And in the future, we have the Six of Swords for his future position. Okay, so the Tower in the past. Yeah, that's just been things coming out about this whole Ukraine call and the whole impeachment thing, and that it was that shoe that dropped. And the impeachment hearings are very troublesome to him. He can act like they're nothing, but they're very troublesome to him. All right, and the Six of Swords, that's him gradually learning. Gradually learning, just kind of learning the tough lessons. But, I did say, though, that he is caught in a cycle, and it's not likely he's going to learn and be advanced by that in the way he's dealing with life. Ace of Wands. New goal, new opportunity is offered to him. Oh, yeah. Yep, that's about the new opportunity being offered to him to resign. That's this Eight of Cups. That's this. Okay, well, that makes sense to me, because this card sort of implies some actual progress made out of chaos, trying to leave the turbulence behind, some actual forward movement made. But I see what that is, sometime in the future, but then when? So I believe he's been offered the opportunity to resign more than once and refused it. That opportunity, Spirit is still giving that opportunity to him. It looks like it takes a while for him to take it, is what I'm getting from this. But he's on his way to thinking about it, maybe. I wonder, would he be well, he wouldn't do this, but his attorneys would. As a plan B, would they be negotiating behind the scenes? Okay, what if our client did resign? Could he have assurances of this? Could he have assurances of that? I believe that's happening. In the future, there's that kind of negotiation is happening. He just doesn't feel like he can sew it all up. Like I said, even if he can some way find a way to cheat to win again, he couldn't sew up all the other elections in 2020. He couldn't sew up, even if he tries to cheat, there would be no sense that he would have no sense that it was a sure thing that he could pull it off. Certainly. I mean, he would be doubtful about that, of course, and as he should be. Yeah, so his attorneys are actually negotiating. I believe in the future months, they're going to be negotiating behind the scenes on a exit deal for him. A plan B, not Rudy, but he does end up with some contact with some better attorneys through this impeachment process. So there we go. He does get some. They might help. They might help facilitate his leaving office. That's a good thing. That could be a good thing coming out of this whole impeachment proceedings. All right. Well, that's interesting. I like doing these readings because I never know what I'm going to hear, and I feel like I hear these things, and that's, that usually comes true when I'm hearing it, like, oh, this is going to happen. Sometimes it's the details around it that are a little mushy. But I clearly hear that he's going to be negotiating behind the scenes. His attorneys will be. And I clearly hear that this remains his strategy, win at any cost. And I clearly hear he is very, very, very worried and bothered by the male Democratic leadership and is going to be trying to ruin their reputations. In the past, we have the Tower as clarified by the Queen card, Mother Russia. Why? Well, the whole Ukraine thing, I mean, all these things lead back to Russia. Why is he working with corrupt Ukrainian officials? Why was Rudy Giuliani, working to support Shulkin? Why is, all these, there's sort of these corrupt Ukrainian officials that Zelensky's been wanting to get rid of, and the Ukrainian people have been wanting to get rid of, that Trump seems to have liked real well, and Putin seems to like real well. There's a lot more back there, you guys. There's a lot more interrelated. Well, and then we have Lev Parnas in there too, as somebody who has been working to support of corrupt Ukrainian kinds of officials over there, pro-Russian kinds of officials over there. So we have all of this going on back there, and there's a lot more there than we know. Maybe something came forward and he's afraid that more will come out. But in any case, Lev Parnas really brought it. That was Lev Parnas bringing it. All that information that people are still going to be digging into and looking into. And now we're finding out that Giuliani, no, that he was talking to people about getting rid of Yovanovitch way back in the spring of last year. I mean, this has been going on for a very long time, this maneuvering. And for what purpose? Was that about getting Joe Biden investigated way back in the spring of last year? I don't think so. You know, that was about other things. So why did they want to get Marie Yovanovitch out of the way when she's helping and supporting, she's bringing the U.S.'s message of we will support you, Ukraine, in standing up to Russia. We will support you, Ukraine, in getting rid of corruption in your democracy. We will support that. They wanted to get her out of the way back in the spring of last year. What was that all about? You know, so that's, again, oh, I'm sorry, hand in glove with Putin's agenda. So there's more, isn't there, Spirit? There's more that will be coming out. I'm picking a card, seeing what I hear about that. Yeah, more schemes. 7 of Swords. There's more that will be coming. About these relationships here. It's going to be, maybe that's part of that third big thing that's coming out that I keep seeing. And it has to do with Trump. Trump's involvement in that area of the world. Russia, Ukraine. There's a lot more coming, you guys. All right. Well, that's interesting. I'm glad I looked at the cards today. There's a lot behind the scenes that we will be watching for. And supporting our people in Washington who are investigating these things and holding the lawmakers' feet to the fire to keep on investigating these things. There we go. All right. Well, I thank you all so very much. I'm very grateful for our journalists in the U.S. I think that their work, you know, this is why free press will save a democracy, because their work is hugely important. So anyway, I thank you all. I think we do need to stay positive. I think we need to stay invested. I think we need to keep communicating with our lawmakers. And I thank you all so very, very, very much for doing so. Bye-bye.